Former aide of the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, was speaking on corruption allegations. All right, Michael, some people also say you're being used by the ruling party. What do you really hope to achieve with this in the final analysis?
When I left Kingsley Mohalu's campaign after his loss in Abeokuta last year, I publicly announced that I would not be involved in political media for 2023. I'm not working for anybody. People need to understand, before they make these allegations, that it would have been more profitable for me to even blackmail Atiku by, sending him all of the evidences I have, threatening him. After all, his own daughter, Hawa, to whom he owed money and was refusing to pay, had to threaten and blackmail him before he paid. I'm putting that out later tonight. It would have been better for me to do that and collect whatever Atiku had given to me, and then the public would be none the wiser. It would have been much more safer for me and my family even. Because by my actions at this moment, my children are not safe. Threats have been made. They have visited my house. My parents are not safe. My siblings are not safe. I knew the implications before I went into this entire thing. There's nobody who needed to motivate me to do this. So I continue to say that it is running away from the crux of the matter if we continue to talk about these things. Because even if anybody did sponsor me, to come out, the fact still remains that Atiku made this confession. What is the position of the law about this? Is it the opposition party that asks its children to confess that they are going to rip Nigeria dry and steal billions and go and reside abroad like their father does if he wins the presidency? It's very trivial. Sometimes I wonder, what do we really want? And if we continue to major in the minor, then many other whistleblowers, people with tangible information, would not come out tomorrow and risk their lives like this. I don't expect to come out of this alive. I'm very afraid, but I will carry on until Nigerians come to a point of realization. The goal for me, like I've said, is just two things basically. There was a personal aspect of my transactions with the Atikus that I will never deny. I do not want young Nigerians like myself. Look around you. There's a lot of young persons who are media aides today, who are special advisors, one field or the other. They are being taken for granted. They are not treated with the respect that is their due. A lot of them are unhappy doing the jobs that they do because of the way they are treated by the political elite. My goal is that after this event, nobody takes them for granted anymore. Secondly, that Nigerians do not make the mistake of voting for Atiku Abubakar for president. It will be suicide mission. If that is the only thing I achieve from this, I'm satisfied and fulfilled.
All right. Now, what are those character traits, in your view, that do not make Atiku Abubakar entitled to the presidency?
Atiku is not trustworthy. His word is not his bond. So, if a man cannot honor agreements with individuals and groups, how do you trust such a person to honor the social contract that he has with Nigerians? I've spoken with so many northern elites who are around him, who have told me why they have not, them in the north, the northern elite have refused to support Atiku's presidency and candidacy, over the years. They do not trust him. There's also a very vicious cabal around him, according to these people. And I have evidence, of this. Very senior people in this country speaking not just to me, but also to Atiku's daughter. I sat down in a meeting in Yola with an Adamawa chieftain who addressed me and Hawa Atiku, and he stated all of the reasons why the North have refused to support Atiku. Atiku's daughter did not have a word of defense for her father. Also, in my conversation with her about Governor Wike, the crisis between Governor Wike and her father, she brought up the Fulani issue, and the fact of how wicked her father is behind the facade. It was in that conversation that she first mentioned assassination, something I cannot speak about here, and spoke about how they will whip the man into shape and anybody else into shape, who does not toe, their line. So, if I've also read some of Atiku's current, aides, people like Demola Olariwaju, Ima, I forgot his Ume also, and others who have in the past affirmed, in their own words, that Atiku is a sponsor of political violence in the North. They've attested to his desperation, and a host of other things. Now, in my dealings with him, in the instructions that he gave to me, I was able to, see what was right and what was wrong. And if there's anything Atiku himself would tell you about me, is that I would always challenge him, even privately, about those things I felt were wrong for this country, for him to do, And based on all of these things, we will have other people like Governor Wike, the G5 governors, and the rest of them come out, to make very strong statements, and even Atiku's daughter, caught on tape saying, her father believes totally in the power of money to subjugate Nigerians and their political will. The same thing that President Obasanjo had said about him in his book. And so, who are common Nigerians to argue against something that a man's own daughter, biological daughter, who has lived with him all of her lives, over 3 decades of her life on earth, is confirming about him, And of course, there's my personal experiences while there, So, in all honesty and with very good conscience and nothing else, Atiku Abubakar will be a disaster politically for this country.
All right, so in 2022, you bought thousands of copies of The Lion of Jada and set them ablaze. It was said that you did this because Atiku was owing you some money. It is also said that this whole thing is an attempt at revenge. Mr. Michael.
You see, Atiku supporters always make mention of the Lion of Jada project as though it is a badge of honor that their principal cannot honor agreement. It's actually an indictment on Atiku because in 2019, he authorized me to write those books, to write that book, and I spent over 40 million publishing Nigeria's most best packaged book in Dubai. He had even mentioned May 29, 2020, after many failed promises, as the date for the launching of that book. It never happened, and we didn't speak about it for 2 years. After I burned those books, because I needed to move on, and his supporters continued to, bring this thing as a dark cloud over my head. I burned those books because I wanted him to know that I wasn't interested in money for those books. I had better jobs, and better earnings after I had left Atiku. Atiku is a man who didn't want me to work for anybody else. Every time I got a job, and I can prove this, every time I got another job, I always, sought his opinion, and his email to me will always be, Mike, please don't take the job. I always respected him. It's not like he would pay me, what I was supposed to go earn in those places, even though it wasn't going to affect my work with him. He wanted to keep enjoying my skill set for himself alone. But you see, even this talk still is a distraction from the core issue. So what if I'm angry? I'm human. A man has made a promise. Based on his promise and his permission, I've done a project where I spent money, lost friends, owed debts that took me 3 years to pay back. But it's not even just that alone. His daughter, with whom I signed a legal contract that she publicly announced, still cheated me out of, as Atiku owes me, Atiku support organization owe me money. But I have never reached out to these people to say, look, if you don't pay me my money, I will do this. The family put me in a situation where every time I had a need, I had to even literally beg, because out of respect for the man, I never spoke to him with a sense of entitlement. But that is still not the bone of contention. The fact still remains, the question still remains, these facts I have put out, are they the truth? If they are the truth, what are the law agencies of law waiting for? What are Nigerians waiting for? This question should be put to Atiku himself because he made this statement by himself. His students said these things by themselves. I am not making any allegations against them.
All right.
They said these things. Yes, thank you.
Now let's talk about the part 3 of your revelation. Is it really true that the funding of the Atiku Okowa campaign is being done with Delta State funds?
Well, the serving aide of Governor Okowa said it, not me. I'd like to remind you, as I've done severally on this program already, that I am not making allegations. I'm merely putting out the things they are saying in-house. And so Prince Olatunji is someone very well known and is close to both the governor and to Atiku. And if he said that, I believe him. But it's left for the people of Delta State, to ask these questions of their governor.
All right, then. If these issues are not addressed and get ignored by the anti-corruption agencies, how will you feel?
I'll feel bad, but I'm a Nigerian. I know I've seen a lot of these things happen where people do these things, especially the elite, do these things and get away with it. He's like, as always, he's most likely to get away with this one too. But you see, Nigerians should remember something. For decades, the FBI, former president, and a whole lot of people have said the same thing about Atiku, but there was no evidence, But I have provided the first real evidence, confession, if you will, against Atiku. If Nigeria doesn't, seize this moment to begin to show that nobody is above the law, then it's a pity for the country. My job is done.
All right, then. Do you also really think that the Nigerian voters will be swayed or guided by these revelations voting in the election next month?
Yes. I'll tell you why. Every day, I'm inundated with calls, even from within the Atiku political structure. Today, a few hours ago, some directors in ASU have reached out to me saying, look, we are happy about this. We know some of these things too, but lack of courage wouldn't let us come out and speak. I know that just like you heard the SSA to Okowa say, he used very strong words. He said, Okowa will perish. He said, Oga, that's referring to Atiku, is too desperate. That is somebody who is still well embedded presently in their own campaign structure. In 2019, one of the major reasons Atiku lost was because of sabotage from within. In 2023, Atiku will still lose the election. A lot of people are dissatisfied, disillusioned within his camp. There are 4 Atiku people saying, look, after all the work that we did, Tambuwal's boys or Saraki's boys or these boys that have come, to profit from the work that we have done. They may not be able to come out publicly to say these things, but I know that from in-house already, Atiku has lost the election. And of course, I'm reading comments, I'm seeing this has gone very, very far, like I intended for it to go, and there's a lot of people who are re-examining their choice, and digging deeper into, Atiku and his family. And I know what they will find out. And I know that if they find out those things, they will not be voting for Atiku.
Earlier, you made mention of trying to protect your children. So are you in any way afraid for your family or your life, knowing the kind of society we live in?
People have been killed for less. I know the people I worked with, I'm dealing with. Of course, I'm afraid. I'll be lying to say I'm not afraid. But, well, every man must die. It is appointed to every man to die once, and after that judgment. If Atiku has me killed, Atiku will still die. He's not leaving this earth alive. Whichever assassin they used to kill me will still die. And so everybody knows they will die. We just don't know the appointed time and how. So it could be now or tomorrow. If it comes, I accept it, But yes, I'm taking measures, to secure myself and family, but I'm not running.
All right, then. So will you ever agree to a truce with Atiku on this matter?
There's no war between me and Atiku. It's nothing personal. I have deep respect for him as a person. Atiku himself will tell anybody who cares to listen if he wants to see the truth. Throughout my relationship with him, I always told him that while I can support your presidential bid and work hard towards, your success, but I would rather that you build for yourself a legacy that lives long after you. I did tell him that the only thing people are likely to remember of you when you die will be what Obasanjo has said about you. Why not prove to Nigerians that you are not this person, But I guess to him, becoming president, based on the pressure from his children and his wives, like he himself affirmed to me in that email, is more important. Atiku is not a very young person. Whenever he dies, he wants his children to be, as rich and as powerful as he is. And so sometimes, in a lot of instances in Nigeria, this is how the so-called generational wealth is attained, And so just like, they are doing in Adamawa State, always, hustling for juicy positions. It's what they intend to do when they get to Aso Rock. But like I said to Nigerians, look, this thing it's not even rocket science. This man has 31 biological children. 30 of them are adults. All of those adults want to become multi-billionaires. It will put too much of a strain on the resources of this country. Whether you like me or not, does not negate this fact. And if you like your own future, as well as your families, as a citizen of this country, you would agree with me that this isn't a luxury you can afford at this time.
Oh, Mr. Chimugo, do you have any fear about the 2023 election, especially that an Atiku victory could put you in harm's way?
Oh, yes. I have that fear. In fact, one of his supporters asked me made a comment on my Twitter handle asking me, what will you do and where will you go when Atiku wins? So I've thought about that. I have that fear, but, well, we are here now. We are here. And this is happening.
Having worked with Atiku Abubakar and being privy, according to you, to his exposure to corruption, what do you think an Atiku presidency portends for Nigeria?
If Nigeria is said to have institutionalized corruption in the past, an Atiku presidency will make it global. It will bring, it will give it wings. You have 30 corrupt children seeking for the same thing to dip their hands into our national treasury. You look at the people, because you see, to measure the worth of a leader, you have to look at the people around him. Look at the Dino Melayes, look at the Reno Mokris and the rest of them. The entire horde, of corrupt, people who have never really had anything to do other than pillaging resources and patronizing these politicians. The effect, especially now that we are looking for some sort of economic recovery, will not be good for this nation in any kind of way. You heard them. You heard what the children said. You heard what Atiku himself said. And he did tell me that he wants to retire. He didn't want to run for president this time. But the children pressured him. Why do you think they did so? I have a video of how Atiku, who is speaking ill of our brother Adamu, said that, look, my father's political influence will wane after this particular political cycle. And so the time for me to establish myself is now. And so nobody, not even my brother, is going to stand in my way. This is the mentality they are bringing to Asoro, and it's not good for Nigerians.
All right, let me ask you this before we go. If you have any opportunity, will you ask or request for special protection from the authority?
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, the only reason it took me this long to speak out is because I was looking for some sort of protection, especially for my children. You know, I did make moves to contact. I tried to, even Governor Wike in River State, I tried to contact him. I have never spoken with him even up to date. That didn't come through. I tried to reach out to a few other persons. But at the end of the day, look, no matter, people have been under the protection of government and that still died before, So at the end of the day, the only victory I have lies in the hands of the Nigerian people. But yes, I'd expect government. I'm a whistleblower. I've come up with facts that are verifiable. I expect the government to do its duty and give me protection.
How? So then, how will you intend, or how do you intend to go about all of this?
How do I intend to do what?
How do you intend to go about this special protection?
That's not for me to decide. If the government is ready to protect me, I'm sure they have an apparatus. They have their ways of doing so. I'm here. I'm still here. Uh, I'm waiting to know what will happen. But in the meantime, I'm taking defensive measures. I'm just trying to stay safe with my family, until such a moment comes. However, if anything happens to me before then, um, well, I guess it's good night and goodbye.
Yes, I know you said you have tried to contact Governor Wike, but to no avail. Are you still in the process?
No, I'm not.
All right, sir. All right, then. Mr. Michael Achimogo, that will be all. Thank you very much for coming on Politics Tonight. Michael Achimogo is the former aide of the former vice.